I came here, didn't speak any English. I was sleeping on the floor for 2 years, went to high school. I made a decision that I needed to pursue basketball in order for me to stay here. There was no way I was going to be able to afford college, and I was going to end up going back to nothing really back there. So the moment I realized that I wasn't going to play professionally, I wasn't going to go to the NBA, I translated all that energy into business. I was watching YouTube, listening to all these CEOs, reading books, biographies. I was like, okay. 2021, so about 7 months later from the moment that I started cold calling, I got my first check. It was only $1,200, but it made it real for me. All those commission checks that I was making at the beginning, at the very moment that we had an opportunity to do a flip together, I told Ryan, like, hey, let me go in on this flip. I brainwashed myself into believing that I could achieve anything because of the YouTube videos that I was watching, because of the Kobe speeches that I was listening when I was shooting around.
But let's go back to what you said about wholesaling. What is wholesaling?
So wholesaling is...
In life, there's a blueprint for everything. There's no need to start over. Hear from industry leaders, those at the top of their fitness journey, and real estate gurus. They tell you exactly how they did it. All you have to do is listen, learn, and execute. This is The Blueprint with Brad Rice.
All right, everybody, welcome back to The Blueprint with Brad Rice. I am your host, and I am super excited to talk with Carlos Jimenez today. Carlos actually reached out to me online, and I took a look at what he was doing in the real estate space and how he got started, and I thought, you know what? Let's get Carlos on the pod, and let's talk about it, because I think what Carlos is going to talk about today is going to benefit a lot of people. And so,
I hope so.
Yeah, I think it will. Just meeting you and having a short chat with you before this. So, a little bit about Carlos. So he came from Mexico. That's where you were born and raised, right?
That's right.
And then in 2009, you were 16 and you moved to the States alone.
Yes.
No money.
Nope.
Like nothing.
Nothing.
And you didn't even speak English,
No.
did you? Yeah.
No.
So his journey led him into college. And he became part of a junior basketball state championship that led him to Division I also. So we're going to talk a little bit about that because you also have a community that you built there, an academy that sounds pretty interesting about basketball. So we'll talk about that. But anyway, when the pandemic hit, you found yourself broke, right? Your accounts were negative. Yeah. And so the comeback was pretty swift. You decided you're going to get to work. You got some introductions. And we'll talk about how you got into real estate. And really today, very successful. He's completed over 200 real estate transactions and has a portfolio of rentals, Airbnbs. And this basketball academy is doing 8 figures, I guess.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm very curious how you got to that. So anyway, welcome to the show.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me, Brad. No,
Yeah.
love to be here and excited to hopefully share some value. And for the listeners out there and people watching, hopefully they can get inspired or motivated or to take action, right?
Love it. So let's start with the kind of how you got out here, because coming out here at 16 years old and really with nothing and not speaking English, that had to have been pretty scary. Like what was the reason you did that? What was the catalyst that made you decide to just pick up and move at 16 years?
Yeah, so you know how people say that teenagers make stupid decisions? Like, I think when my dad was like, hey, are you willing to go to the U.S. by yourself? Like, are you willing to do that? And I was like, yeah. Like, I think that was one of those decisions where, like, I had no idea what I was going to face and encounter once I was here. It was literally a backyard talk. I still remember it where my dad is making some carne asada, and I had already fallen in love with basketball. I wasn't very good, but I'm pretty tall. I'm the tallest Mexican you'll ever meet, but that was the only thing.
I'm just going to guess real quick. You're 6'3" and a half?
6'6".
Oh shit!
Yeah,
that was way off.
Yeah,
I think I'm wearing tall shoes today.
Yeah, so that thing I had going for me. I was working hard. I was part of like the local teams, practicing outdoors. There's no gyms. There's none of that over there. And we're talking. It's a summer 2009. And my dad is like, okay, like, what do you think? Like, what do you want to do? What's the next move? So we started talking about maybe going to like the 16U, 17U national team, like try out something like that. And that's when he like just thinks like, hey, like there's this ant that you have in Santa Ana, California, in Orange County. I've never been here. He's never been here. We haven't seen this ant for 30 years. he said, hey, I can call her, and like, what if you want to go over there and go to high school, learn English, play basketball, and see what happens. So he calls her and he's like, hey, like, can Carlos go stay with you? Because you do need a guardian to go to school here. And she was like, hey, it's like 6 of us here in a 1-bedroom apartment, but
oh wow,
if we can feed 6, we can feed 7, you know. So I'm super grateful forever for that, and for her and her husband. So my dad was like, all right, you want to do it? I'm like, I'm in, let's do it. So he literally had to like borrow from friends money. There was only one plane ticket it's a small town. It's called Ciudad del Carmen, Campeche. It's an island by the Gulf of Mexico. So very small town. There's one airport that was built like pretty recently there, back then. So
wait, where's the, like, logistically, where's the biggest airport close to you there? Is it like Cancun-ish?
Yeah, it would probably be Merida, Yucatan, or Cancun, which is like 4 or 5 hours away.
That's deep.
So yes, a small town, a small island. So he gets money from his friends, $700 first class flight. That was the only one available, and that was the only time that I flew first class ever. But yeah, long story short, I came here, didn't speak any English. I was sleeping on the floor for 2 years. Went to high school, managed to get through that, learn English, made some friendships, and fell in love with basketball even more. Worked my butt off. I was going for the NBA. That was the dream, right?
Yeah.
And obviously that didn't happen, but I made a decision that I needed to pursue basketball in order for me to stay here, because if I didn't, there was no way I was going to be able to afford college, and I was going to end up going back to nothing really back there. So I was training. I was training kids one-on-one. I was doing catering. I was doing construction. I was hanging Christmas lights. I was hustling and then training myself, lifting, shooting, like all day, every day, pretty much for that whole summer. I was trying to figure out my status here, trying to go to college. There's a lot of intricacies. Like if you went to high school here, you're allowed to go to college, but then you get charged as an international, things like that. Okay. So it was a little complex. So I was able to go to Saddleback College. They were top in the state, and I earned a spot there. They were stacked with people that went to University of Washington, Pac-12, UCLA, Weaver State, in Utah. So Division I level colleges.
Competitive.
Yeah. So I was there for 2 years. Had an opportunity, and I got a scholarship after that. Those 2 years, and then went on to college up in Sacramento. Got my scholarship, graduated, and then moved back here. So yeah, that's like the quick of it, and
that's a lot.
Yeah.
And you were navigating that by yourself. So you had your aunt that you stayed with, but I'm sure that she was not involved.
Yeah, they were pretty much strangers.
Yeah.
I was having to walk to school. I was having to rely on the bus and friends and rides, and I only had one friend. He was from Uruguay. He was the only one that spoke English, and in the games he would like translate. The coach would be like, "Hey, tell Carlos to go set a screen here." So that was funny, but yeah, no, I was forced to learn it. I was forced to adapt. There wasn't. Sometimes if you got home after like 7, the other people living there had already ate dinner, so then there was no more dinner. So lots of that as well. Yeah, and
a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah, for sure.
It's interesting when you say, look, you came here, you didn't know any English, and you had somebody interpret, and it's just like you were forced to learn it, which obviously today you speak like perfect English. Great vocabulary.
It's better, yeah.
I think about technology, and you've seen these earbuds that translate in real time now. You've seen these things where any language. So it's like C-3PO from Star Wars. It speaks a million languages. Any language. In real time, you have these earphones in, and they translate. And then when you speak back, if that person you can have a full conversation speaking your native language and not have to learn the language. Wow. Which is really interesting. So I wonder if that's going to be prevalent in the future, where people don't feel compelled to actually learn the language that is the main languge where they move.
Yeah, if they don't feel the need, maybe. Yeah. It's that kind of ties with like comfort, right? So like so much like AI and technology and a lot of these new things coming up now, it kind of keeps you comfortable. Like you don't have to do much, right? Yeah. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out.
We'll see how it plays out. So okay, so you did all this. You got the college. Then how did you make the transition into business? Because obviously you're not part of the NBA, so you didn't take that path.
Yeah, not here. Didn't make the Lakers.
Or not yet, anyway.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, so how did you make this transition into real estate?
So my senior year of college, about February 20th, it's my senior now. I realized I'm not going to go play professionally. I pretty much translated, Brad, I was lifting for an hour. I was shooting for 2 hours. I was doing skills training for another 2 hours, team practice, and then playing like 8 hours, like throughout my whole college. Like I was like 5.5% body fat. Like I was living for this. So the moment I realized that I wasn't going to play professionally, I wasn't going to go to the NBA, I translated all that energy into business. So I'm new to business. I don't know what is it going to be. So I was watching Gary Vee. I was watching all these new influencers that were coming up back then in 2016, 2017. I was watching YouTube, listening to all these CEOs, reading books, biographies. Like, I was like, okay. I found a common denominator of all these successful people reading books, personal development, self-growth, networking, connecting, finance, real estate, and insurance, like kind of like that world. Like I was researching, like, okay, like who are the top millionaires, like what industries, like all that stuff. So again, because I was still figuring out my immigration status and all that stuff, it wasn't like so easy to just move back home and go apply at a Chipotle or whatever. I couldn't do that. So I was like, okay, I don't really see myself like working at a desk anyway. So what can I do? I was already training kids in the off season. So I moved back. I started reaching out to all my contacts, and I started with one kid. I was training one-on-one, and then through that kind of spread out. I was doing like 30 private sessions a week all through Orange County, driving around from park to park. And from that moment, I knew you could make a decent living in Orange County with youth sports. But from day one, I was like, I want to design this business to where like I don't have to be here. I don't have to be on the court. So from day one, I envision of how to build a business where it doesn't need me, right? So how can I hire a coach? How can I hire a coach that will train multiple kids at one? And then how can I pay for a course so that we stay in one place and then not go from park to park? Kind of like there's this book, 10X is easier than 2, and then 2X. And basically talks about how can you replace yourself. Like if you spend 20% of your time closing a deal, how can you replace that 20% with like a closer, so then you can spend now that 20% in hiring more closers.
Right.
It's that concept of like buying back your time and replacing yourself and 10xing yourself. So that's how I started transitioning to business. Obviously, I graduated with a business major, and I don't think I learned anything until I was actually like doing business. Like I was making sales, I was getting Venmos and payments, and how do I process credit cards through my website, and how to create a website, how to start posting content.
Yeah, it's a shame that the schools don't teach that practical knowledge, right? Because how valuable would that have been if you were going through school and it taught you literally like how to start a business, what should you form, a corporation or an LLC?
Yep.
How do you do that? Can you do it online? Do you have to contact an attorney? Where do you register for taxes? How do you get your TIN number? All these things that are involved in starting a business that you just don't learn if you want to be an entrepreneur. Like they don't teach it in regular school. And, this is a hot subject because financial illiteracy is a big thing.
Yes, huge.
People graduate college and they don't even know what a checkbook is. Not that we use checks anymore, but the concept of how do you keep track of the funds in your account so you make sure you don't go negative if you're spending money, if you're using an ATM card, things of that nature. So very interesting. So you decided you're going to self-teach yourself these things. I saw one of your posts where you flipped through a lot of these self-help books. 10X is easier than 2X is one of them that was impactful on you.
That's a recent one. Yeah,
that's recent.
I never read. I hated reading up until I graduated at 25 years old. So on the older side to graduate college, and I've never read. And then the first book that I ever read was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That was my first, cover to cover. And because I started studying all these successful people, and they all read.
That's
like,
right.
All of them do. So I was like, okay, I have to like force myself. Now I can get through a book in like a week or 2 weeks, pretty quickly. But yeah, 10x is easier than 2x. Is a good one, a recent one. Buy Back Your Time. That was one of the ones that I read this year. Overall, top 3, I would say like The One Thing by Keller. That one's a huge one. 7 Highly Effective People, and the 15 Laws of Growth by John Maxwell.
Great
Those are
books.
like top 3 that I
that
I really like and I really implemented and helped me in my journey.
And you're so spot on, because most entrepreneurs, not all, but most, they've read these books, and there's probably a good 15 books now that have been tried and true over decades of time.
Think and Grow
and
Rich.
Some of them, Think and Grow Rich. I mean, you read that
Rich
and
Dad,
you go,
Poor
"Oh my
Dad,"
gosh,
all the
how do
classics.
you?" You have to extrapolate like horse and buggy days to what that means today. But the actual concepts are extremely valuable.
Oh, yes.
The examples are a little bit unrelatable, just based on when the book was written and so forth. But those are like key books. I would share these with my kids, when they got to the point where they were getting older. My daughter loves to read, and I would share these books with her. And she has a big library of them because I just continue to buy them, and she likes to read. I like to ingest on Audible. It's just easier for me. I can be driving, I can be doing other things, and just be listening to it. Sitting down and reading a book, I'm way too anxious for that. I get distracted. I start thinking about things. But if I'm listening to it, it's a lot more valuable for me.
I saw in a post recently that books are literally like the best investment that you can do, because you're taking someone else's expertise over 30 years into a $20 piece of hard or audio, right? Like, it's insane. Like, if you spend the past 30 years doing mortgages, and then I can pay $20 to read it in a week, like, who wouldn't do that?
Number one, best way to learn is through reading, and books or listening to books. Number 2 is mentorships. Volunteer your time. Find somebody that is doing what you want to do, that's already been where you want to go, and learn directly from them.
Absolutely.
That is absolutely one of the best things. So cool. So that's great. I mean, you have all these books that you started reading, and then I know you were building this academy for basketball, right? But then at some point, and I think there was during COVID, right? When COVID started, you're like, oh, shit, I can't do this basketball thing right now.
Yeah, they were literally the cops were putting like sticks of wood on the rims at the parks. So we couldn't even be outside.
Yep, that's right. They weren't letting, they're so silly. You look back at it. But, so now you're stuck. Like, that was your income. That's how you're moving forward. So how do you move into real estate?
Yes, so 2020, COVID hits. Moving back to about 2018, just going back to studying successful people and seeing that real estate is one of the ways that people achieve success to a multimillionaire status, etc. I was listening to podcasts, I was watching YouTube, I was learning, and I was learning, no action, right? And I was doing decent with my basketball academy, so that was my excuse as of why I couldn't pull the trigger yet.
Yeah.
So again, being forced to, like we were talking about that. COVID hits, now I'm forced to pull the trigger on something else because I need income, right? Rent is due, accounts are in negatives, I need to make money. I was like, okay, well, this is my chance. I make some phone calls. I make a phone call to Joe. He was one of my first mentors. I used to shadow him through his flips in Orange County. And he's like, hey, call my son-in-law, Ryan. He's my current partner now. I was calling Ryan. He blew me off for a little bit. And he finally was like, okay, come to the office. So I show up to his office in Laguna Hills, and he has a script, and then he has a Mojo dialer ready to go with like 10,000 records. And he's like, all right, man, you're going to call. And he walks out. I'm like, what do you mean? What do I say? Like, he's like, dude, you start calling. Like, I didn't know what to say. I had my script, but again, see, English is my second language. I was stuttering. I was choking. I was like what I say, like when they say this, like, and I just started putting in the reps. So this is about March, April 2020.
Okay.
I did not get a deal until
it was right as COVID hit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't know where the market is going.
Yeah.
Like it's it's
People
kinda,
are worried. They
yeah,
don't want to talk to strangers.
Yeah. No, it kind of took a dip and then obviously exploded, but we just didn't know. 7 months go past, no deals. January 20th, 2021. So about 7 months later, from the moment that I started calling, I got my first check. And it wasn't a crazy one. It was only $1,200, but it made it real for me.
Yeah.
I was like, this is real. I can make money from real estate.
Yeah, that was a long time. 7 months you put in.
And that month, it was like boom, 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 boom. Like 7 deals that same month. And it was like a 50, 60 grand month. Like most money I've ever seen in a month. Like,
wow. All right. So let's talk about what that exactly was, because you're making these cold calls. Who were you calling, and what was the purpose of the phone calls?
So we're calling homeowners in Southern California. We pulled a list. We skip traced it. And then we started calling these homeowners. What is skip tracing?
Pause for a minute. What is, for people that don't know, what is skip tracing?
My advice for someone selling their home: number 1, do it yourself and save. Number 2, use HomePie.
HomePie makes it easy to buy or sell without an agent. I can list a home in minutes and start receiving offers right away from buyers.
When we discovered that we didn't have to lose $40,000 in agent commission just to upsize to a larger home, it was an obvious choice.
List your home for free at homepie.com. Keep your piece of the pie.
What is skip tracing?
So skip tracing is when you, if you have an address, so if your address is 123 Main Street, I'm going to put it into a system that is going to spit out your name, your first and last name, your emails that you've had for years, and then your phone, multiple phone numbers. Most likely, they're going to have your current phone number, but then they'll have a landline of your old house or whatever. But basically, skip tracing is where you get the contact information of any homeowner that has ever bought a house anywhere in the country.
Yeah, so this is, skip tracing historically was originally used by police, detectives to trace people down, to find people, and now it's used for business because it's so readily accessible. There are websites that you can log into, that you can pay a fee, and you can pretty much find out just about anything about anybody. Now, with the exception of, if somebody is famous, if somebody is a big entertainer, if they're in politics, if they are in law enforcement, they've done a pretty good job, most of them, of hiding that information.
I'm sure I can skip trace Donald Trump, right, and be like, hey, congrats, man.
Right. No, you can't do that. And in fact, when it comes to housing, and you probably know this, but if you're on Zillow or one of the portals and you're looking through like the maps, or if you're even on a Google Maps and you're looking through and you're on the street view and you come across a home that is blurred out, a lot of the times it's because somebody there doesn't want to be known. Yeah. But you can also apply for that as anybody, by the way, through Google. But that being said, so, okay, cool. So you're making calls, and the purpose of the call. So you've got this list. It was a skip trace. You've got their information. These are homeowners. What are you saying to them?
Hey, Mr. Seller, this is Carlos with Trusted Investors. I was just wondering if you would be interested in selling your property the next 90 to 6 months. We're a local family-owned company, and we were just driving by your property and wanted to see if you would be open to it.
That's it.
Yes, no, F off, hang up, I'll think about it.
So this wasn't even people that had...
of those.
And this wasn't even people that had thought about listing their home for sale. No. They weren't like listings. No. These are just homeowners, like anybody that's just living, and you're just prospecting this giant list.
So there's different softwares out there, but you can niche it down. So you can go for foreclosures, pre-foreclosures, probates, divorce cases. You can go for tax liens. You can go for all these different like high equity or you can filter it out for people that have owned properties for more than 10 years in Orange County, California, or San Bernardino County, California. And then the software is going to populate this list of all these owners that have properties that have owned them for more than 10 years. So we assume that if they own them for 10 years and they're non-owner occupied, that they don't live there, they've owned it for 10 years, maybe they have pain in the butt tenant that they don't want to deal with anymore.
Yeah.
So as you're doing these thousands and thousands of calls, you're hoping to come across these owners that are motivated.
And catch them right at the right time.
Yes.
So it's really interesting because what you're saying here is there's a way where you could find out through, filtering somebody that's got the propensity to want to sell. Mm-hmm. They haven't decided to sell, they haven't listed it, but based on these conditions, they're more likely to want to sell. And that was your list.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so many times I will have conversations where they would, right when I call them, like they've thought about it for maybe a week or two. Oh, by the way, have you reached out to any real estate agents yet? No, not yet. So like you came in right there, right before they reached out to real estate agents, and you're offering this headache-free, hassle-free, quick sale, convenience, and you're gonna give them a fair price. People do it.
How many calls would you have to make to get one person that was interested?
So okay, so I'm a what's the word?
Statistical.
Yeah. KPI nerd.
Okay.
I don't know what you want to call it, but yeah, no, currently I have a team of cold callers. So they do about in a power dialer. So a power dialer it's a triple line dialer or 6-line dialer that it's calling 6 people at the same time, and whoever answers first is going to be the one that you're going to be talking to. So with these power dialers, you can do 2,000 to 3,000 calls a day, and we shoot for like 2 to 3 leads a day. So these are people that have thought about it or are interested in the next 90 to 6 months. We're going to put it into our CRM, and we're going to follow up into
a sequence
they say yes,
and drip
or
on them.
Yes. We're going to, money's in the follow-up, as I'm sure you know. So we're going to put them into this CRM. We do about 2,000 to 3,000 calls a day, and that leads to about a couple hundred connects. A lot of them are like no interested. But then out of those 200 to 300 connects, then you'll have like 5 or 6 that like are in the fence, and then you'll have like 1 or 2 that are thinking about it, and then that's when you go into your sales process of passing it on to your acquisitions manager, or if you're doing it yourself, you want to dig into the condition of the property. You might want to make an in-person appointment and stand out, because these people are getting 20 other calls from other people.
Right, so you're not the only one.
You got to find ways to stand out, build rapport, build that relationship. Have these people are gonna have a guard up. How do you get them to get their guard down? And just be a people person.
So I got 2 follow-up questions on this. So number 1, how do you manage the do not call list?
Yeah.
Are you filtering these out? Are you not filtering them? And then number 2, I know, just about anybody knows if they get a lot of phone calls to their phone, and most of us do these days, that when there's that pause at the very beginning, these are the dialers, right? You're not saying hello right when they pick up. There's a little pause that it's a solicitation, you just hang up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So those are like 2 challenges I see when you're doing this sort of thing, which means, like you said, the statistics are you've got to make 2,000 or 3,000 calls a day to get through, because you just have to get lucky, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of volume. We do scrape the list for DNC. Sometimes a couple of them might sneak in there, and somebody's like, "Hey, I'm on the DNC list. Why are you calling me?" And we just apologize, and we put him on that list and move on, right? Yeah. You also don't want to like just, I don't care about any regulations or anything. I'm just gonna blast everybody. Like, nah, like we like to do business the right way.
Yeah. And you're calling from like local numbers then too? Does that make it more?
Yeah. So depending on what market we're in, we'll pull numbers from there. So right now we're calling North Carolina, we're calling Texas, we're calling in Phoenix, California. So we're gonna use phone numbers in the local
zip
market.
Code in that area.
Yeah, it increases your chances of getting answered.
Yeah, for sure. Especially if you can get a prefix that's a city prefix, then even better. We used to do that.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you about that.
So cool. So that's what you did. You did that for 7 months. Then you start to get a check. So when you say check, is this a commission check because you got the seller to want to sell, and so you're getting a commission on that from who's now your partner, this guy Ryan? Was he buying these to flip them? Was this, what was the actual process that made money?
Great question. Yes. So when I showed up into the office, I didn't have any money. I had already run out of my savings, and basically I was coming under him to find deals so that he can flip. He had already been flipping for about 10 years, 10 to 12 houses a year. So when I came in, I started posting on social media. I started posting content. That year, we ended up doing about 50 flips. So 4 or 5x his business. Had a whole team under me with cold callers and other people that were local, and they wanted to learn wholesaling. They wanted to learn how to invest in real estate. So we had a full office just with headsets and just pounding the phones every single day. And people were coming to me to teach them when I was still learning myself too. But we were grinding. But our goal was to find deals, distressed properties to flip in Southern California. Later on, we added the out-of-state wholesaling, but that was the start. How do I find deals? I will find them, and because I wasn't an equity partner or anything like that, he would just cut me a percentage of the flip profit.
Got it. Okay. So, by the way, the best way to learn is to teach. So even when you don't know it all, when people start asking you questions and you're teaching it, you learn a lot more. That's probably what accelerated your growth.
But really quick, Brad, you mentioned earlier like the importance of mentorship and the importance of investing in yourself in mentorship and in yourself too. All those commission checks that I was making at the beginning, at the very moment that we had an opportunity to do a flip together, I told Ryan like, hey, let me go in on this flip.
Nice.
I was putting away my checks from the commissions. And then right away, I was like, hey, let me do this flip with you. And then we did a flip in Banning, and we make $60,000. Just like that. But because I was willing to take that risk, and I was willing to like, hey, I'm going to make these sacrifices. Like, yeah, I'm broke, and but I'm still not going to spend my money. Like, I'm going to put it away. And then right away, I went like, and I asked. Otherwise, like, maybe we would have kept going in the same direction, and I would have just collected checks But I wanted to
take the next step in your career.
Yes.
So I'm curious, Micah, maybe you could bring this up online on Instagram. There was a post you had with a property that you, I guess, bought sight unseen and then went to visit it in 2020. I wonder if this is the property you're talking about. Yeah.
So that was the first property. That was the first property that I ever walked. It's 2 hours away.
Yeah.
It's like in Victorville. Like I've never been to this city. There's so many cities that I didn't know they existed until I got into real estate. But I was willing to drive 2 hours away. This property owner was a cold caller. He was behind on his mortgage. Like he was getting foreclosed on. But yeah, this property. Look at it.
Had you already bought it?
No. We hadn't bought it yet.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Because I'm looking at that. I'm going, holy smokes! You bought this property sight unseen. And had no idea. It's like a teardown.
That wouldn't be bad. But I'll tell you this story though. I did buy another property in Detroit, in the hood of Detroit. I took a flight. I needed to go over there. Right now we manage properties and out of state I've never been to. We flip properties. Like we flipped one in Arleta here. I think that's pretty close from here.
It is.
I never went to it. I still haven't gone.
Okay. Well, you can do it on your way home.
We closed on it 2 weeks ago. But anyway, in 2020, when I'm getting started, we were cold calling here. We cold called somebody that lived here, but they own 2 properties in Detroit. And he's like, "Hey, I want to sell these." He wanted to sell them for like $8,000 or something like that. And I'm like, "There's properties worth $8,000." I literally buy a flight with like the little money that I have. I go over there. It's literally like a 24-hour trip. Got to the airport, took an Uber, went to the property, changed the locks. I wanted to wholesale that property. Man, when I got into that neighborhood, like it's like the movies where like people are standing in the front
watching
yard,
you go by,
and like all the brothers just staring. Like I'll call them brothers. I'm Mexican, like, but it was scary. Like, and I changed the locks. I had a couple investors that were interested in seeing it. They walked it. It didn't work out. But my point here is like, I took a flight. I didn't have any money. Like I was willing to go over there. Like I didn't care. Like I changed the locks myself. Like I didn't care. Like I wanted to do it. I was going to take action. I was ready, and I was going to do whatever it took to be successful. And I did it. And I'm not patting myself here in the back, but like I went to Detroit.
That's what it takes.
And,
you got to take action.
Yeah.
That trip to Detroit, I remember being in Detroit after 2008. So I had a very large mortgage company pre-meltdown, pre-2007, 2008. And we did everything in mortgage, and we would service loans and that sort of thing. And so when the market crashed, we were stuck with a lot of properties that the owners just stopped making payments on them, and we'd have to foreclose. And I remember being in neighborhoods there where we would have a handful of properties in a particular neighborhood. And when you say $8,000 and so forth, I mean, these were wrecks. I mean, they were like unlivable.
Yeah.
They were homes. They were on a piece of land, but they were like almost unlivable. And, where we made loans that were like $100,000 to $150,000, and they're worth like $8,000 to $10,000.
Wow.
That was a deep cut, and because people would just destroy them when they moved out. So as you're talking about this, I was thinking, I wonder if these were very similar. But let's go back to what you said about wholesaling. What is wholesaling?
So wholesaling is...
I'd say if you're considering joining the AmeriFund team, it's a really good idea.
We as processors at AmeriFund Home Loans support the loan officers in every aspect of the loan once it comes into processing, because we want them out there marketing themselves and originating more loans and supporting more borrowers.
Competitive commission plans are a given, and powerful technology is expected, but what truly sets us apart is our culture. We've built a solid support system for our loan officers.
If you're interested in joining the AmeriFund team, go to amerifund.com/careers.
So wholesaling is, there's a seller or a homeowner, there's a buyer in a traditional transaction, you're in the middle. I want to make this buyer's life easier so that he doesn't have to go and talk to the seller, or doesn't have to go find it, doesn't have to go cold call, doesn't have to go door knock. So I'm here, I'm the middleman, I'm going to go find the deal, I'm going to put it under contract for, let's say, $100,000. Okay. Hey, Mr. Seller, you interested in selling? Yes. Okay. How about 100,000? Sure. Let's do it. I put an agreement with the homeowner here. So now we have an agreement for $100,000. Now I'm going to reach out to this buyer while he's chilling by his pool, waiting for deals. I'm going to, hey, Mr. Buyer, I have a deal for you for $110,000.
Yeah.
Okay. Why would he pay more than what I agree? Well, because he's chilling by the pool, right? He didn't have to do anything. He didn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
So he's willing to pay a little bit of a premium for this deal that I found. So I make the $10,000. At closing, this person gets the $100,000. I get the $10,000. He gets his house. And obviously, the numbers are already factored into where he's going to make a profit. Yeah. So that's another reason why he will buy it. It's a win-win-win.
Absolutely. It's interesting because wholesaling, wasn't called wholesaling decades ago. And it's just arbitrage. You're finding the buyer, you're finding the seller, you're getting commission. Well, that's what real estate agents do.
It's crazy
right?
how long it's been around.
It's been around for a long, long time. Yeah. But that's exactly what real estate agents do. They're getting a commission representing you as a seller to find the buyer, right? And a lot of times it's not just them, it's another agent. That's why there's two sides of the commission. But you're doing the exact same thing, and you're getting paid at closing just like a real estate agent would. Mm-hmm. So you're providing a service for both sides of it. It doesn't require you to come in with any money. That's the beauty about it. Zero. Just time.
Or a license.
Just time, energy, and
sweat equity.
And just being dedicated to it. So, it's a great model, especially for somebody who doesn't have the money to invest, or doesn't have a partner with money.
Which was me.
Which was you, right? And, just to get kind of real granular on this, and just the knowledge of knowing how long it's been around, when you write an offer as a wholesaler, as we call it now, you literally are writing that offer to the seller to get it under contract, because you want the control of the property. You want to be able to say, I've got 30 days to find a buyer here, or I cancel, right? Yes. And you're writing that contract where it is Carlos Jimenez and or assigns. And so you have the ability to assign that contract to a third party. So you're writing it, you're getting under contract in your own name, but you're able to assign it to somebody else. And that's what gives you the ability to go find that buyer, have a separate agreement with that buyer where they understand you're going to get $10,000 for it, put that agreement into escrow or with the attorney if it's an attorney closing state, and be able to get that payment through closing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. So regular RPA, residential purchase agreement between you and the seller and the homeowner, and then an assignment of contract with the buyer, which is the one you're talking about.
That's right.
Yeah. I skipped that part, but yes, of course, it's two different contracts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just love to have, for people that really want to learn about this stuff, why shouldn't they learn from you? Right?
Yeah. No. And it's the easiest way, in my opinion. Like right now, obviously, like states are getting caught up with regulations, like South Carolina banned it. And I think a lot more states are going to start doing that. But in my opinion, to this day, still is the easiest way to get into real estate, because you get the best of everything. First of all of real estate, regardless of what you do, long-term rentals, midterm, multifamily, Airbnb, flips, whatever you do, it sells, right? It's how to find the deals. Wholesaling teaches you to do that, like how to find the deals. If you can find the deals, you can do whatever you want. You can do mobile homes, you can do RV parks, you can do whatever you want.
That's right.
Self-storage is just finding the deals. It's just reaching out to a homeowner that it's willing to sell at a discount, and then you're going to do it, right? So I think wholesaling, because you don't need the money, gives you all the reps and all the lessons and all the knowledge to get your feet wet into real estate. And then from there, you can decide like what you like to do.
And let's be practical about it. Like you had your now partner that was the money side of it, so you could bring him into the deal, or you could go find a third party, a buyer to come in. And anybody can do that. You don't need to already have somebody with money that's looking to buy. But if you have a handful of investors, say, hey, go find me some properties. This is my buy box. You can go and target just those types of properties too.
Yeah.
So you're right. It is probably the easiest way to get started and get into real estate.
Yeah,
now, you didn't – go ahead.
No, sorry. I was just going to say I think a lot of people hesitate or get stuck because they don't have financing.
Yeah.
And the money's out there. The money's out there. And my first mentor told me, like, when I started, I was like, if you find a deal, you'll find the money. And it's true. It's true. So really, just find a deal. Like, Brad will buy it. I'll buy it. Like,
yeah,
we're here.
There's a common theme here. We talk about this a lot on the podcast, with people that are flippers and are doing this sort of thing and buying property. Is the hardest part is finding the deal. It's not finding the money. Now, people will make comments on this and they'll say, no, that's because you have money. That's not the case. There's lots of money out there. And there are influencers that actually have built communities of investors for this very purpose, so that when you want to get into real estate, if you want to be the one that bird dogs and makes money wholesaling, you've got a built-in group of people you can run these by. And there's a lot of those out there. And all you have to do is a little diligence and you'll find them. Yeah. So I love it. I love what you've done. So you also then at some point stopped doing, or maybe you're still doing the wholesaling, but you got into some long-term rentals too and some short-term rentals. How did you make that transition?
Yeah, so 2021, 2022, tons of flipping. Obviously, the market helped us. We killed it. We crushed it. 2023, interest rates, there's a little bit of a switch up there on the market. So we added out-of-state wholesaling. So we got into Arizona, Nevada, Tennessee, Texas, North Carolina, Georgia, South Carolina as well, and Florida. So we started doing deals in these other markets that were pretty popular. We wanted to target markets that no matter what the deal was, there will be a buyer. Which I believe in most markets there's gonna be a buyer, because there's all types of buyers. Like what might not be a deal for you might be a deal for somebody else. So we started targeting these other markets. And again, because of interest rates, we weren't sure if we wanted to do projects that we will have to hold for longer, right? There's more risk. Right now, we still have a couple of deals that have lasted or we've held for year plus, right? Like if something happens, you don't want to hold on to those deals for too long. So we started decreasing our volume of flips 2023. And then we offset it with wholesaling out of state. So if we were doing 60 flips a year, we did 30 in 2023. And then along along the way, I picked up a couple of Airbnbs myself. My partner picked up a couple in Big Bear, Joshua Tree, because we wanted to see what that was like, and we got into it, and we didn't hesitate, and we did it, right? And so,
do you manage those Airbnbs yourself?
No.
So Joshua Tree, do you know Patrick Switek?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's been on the pod.
Yeah, I know him.
Yeah, that's his area. Does he manage those for you?
No, he tried.
Okay.
No. I have a cleaner that she's awesome, and I pay her a little extra. She manages them, but I actually just sold one of them, so I only have a couple other left. But
it's funny how small a world that Airbnb world is with the people that are doing it at scale. Everybody seems to know each other.
Yeah. Airbnb is a whole other beast. But as for me personally, as we start adding these other sources of income for the business, like Airbnb and long-term rentals, for me personally, I was like, the way I looked at it was, okay, I'm wholesaling, making 30K a transaction. I'm flipping, making 60K a transaction. It's transactional, right? Like we still have to work our butts off. And yes, we have acquisitions manager, we have transaction coordinator, we have lead manager, we have cold callers, we have a team, right? So it is somewhat automated, but we still have to get out there and hunt, right? I'm still I'm not married yet. I don't have kids, so I'm for that grind. Like I'm still pushing. I'm going hard, right? But long term, all the older investors are gonna tell you long-term wealth, right? And that's when you get into multifamily or long-term rentals, right? So that's where we started. We talked about it. My partner has a kid, so we're like, okay, well, how about we do 10 flips and we keep 3, or we do 3 flips and keep 1. So right now, currently, how we transition is like, okay, we flip. Okay, let's put those funds into 3 or 4 rentals in Alabama or North Carolina. Those are our 2 markets. Yeah. So we started picking up those rentals. They're lower price points. You can still rent them for $1,100 a month. So you're buying $60,000. You put $10,000 rehab, and then you rent them out for $1,100 or $900. So you cash flowing great. You're not gonna get the appreciation in Alabama that you will here in Southern California. But we're going for cash flow, and then you still get all the tax benefits and all that great stuff.
How do you manage the work being done on a flip, or just the work being done on something that you're keeping that's not in your footprint, that's out of state? How do you manage that? Are you a tech investor looking to shape the future of real estate? HomePie is the #1 for sale by owner marketplace, and we are revolutionizing the way homes are bought and sold. I'd love to hear from you. Just email invest@homepie.com and let's chat. Now back to the show.
Yeah, it's been challenging. And it's gotten better now, but it was a lot of trial and error. It was a lot of having our local property manager have local contractors go bid the project, and then pick one and then see how they do. And then if they don't do well, go to another one, and then try to build those relationships and try to vet out the people that are not very good. But people are a lot slower over there, and we've learned, and we still learning right now. But it's challenging because obviously it's not your backyard, right? And it's not like you can just drive by and then hit up your people, or go to Home Depot and get a couple painters and then go supervise, right?
I think this is something a lot of people don't. We just don't talk as much about as we should, because you do like to, for example, obviously we're in California. The median price on a home's like $900,000. It's, if you're looking to flip homes and that sort of thing, you really do have to have deep pockets. You got to have investors with money, and so you look out of state, and you also look at maybe more landlord friendly states. And when you do that, and you lose kind of that hands on, having trusted partners is really important. For example, I'm doing. On all my California single-family residents, I'm adding, where I can, the ones that are big enough for it, I'm adding ADUs. Yeah. And there's a process. There's a permitting process. There's delays there. Then they keep getting you for fees, and then you got to trust that the people that are managing this are doing it right. And Then you got your contractor, and he said he's going to start, and a week goes later. You're asking for photos, and nothing's been done.
Yep.
And in the meantime, your renter in the front house moves out because they're sick of hearing the construction, and it's sitting there vacant.
So
and
true.
it's like these are the things that people don't talk about. And the reality is, until you get to the point, or you can associate yourself with somebody who's really got a machine put together that can assemble, on location in the markets that you're in, a crew, and it's a reliable crew that goes in, does the work, comes out. It's not that easy.
Systems.
It's all about
Systems. Systems will change your life.
Yeah.
We were back then. We were doing a ton of flips. We were driving around like crazy, on the phone every day. Like you said, contractors say they will be there, and they're not there.
Yep.
And then somebody else has to pick up material and drop it off over there because now the electrician is waiting on it, and then the flooring guy is waiting, like on the drywall guy. So systems is one of the things that has allowed us to invest out of state without ever having to be there. I've never been to Alabama. I've been to North Carolina, but never seen the properties that we own right now. And get yourself a property manager. Make sure that you're vetting, and then create yourself your SOPs as if you were doing it yourself, so that the local person, the local handyman, or the local housekeeper, or whoever it is, they exactly know what to do if something happens. They exactly know what to do if the HVAC goes out, and or for like my Airbnbs, like the keypad wasn't working, so it was a weekend. And then the cleaner, she started calling me and like, oh, what's the code for the lockbox on the side of the? I'm like, did you check the Google Doc? Like, there's it's in there. It's in there. Oh no, I didn't. Okay, well, now she's bugging me on the weekend, right? Yeah. But it's all about the systems, right? And then you train your people. And even if you don't have a team yet, with anything that you do in business, like if you create a standard operating procedure that you document when you do it yourself, it will be easier for you to delegate it then, or later on.
Put in the time up front for the ease later, for sure.
Yeah.
So about that, systems and that sort of thing, you've also started a community with Mentorship, right?
So yes. So right now we have I recently launched my school community. It's bilingual. Initially it was just for Spanish speakers, but I'm transitioning to being bilingual. And the whole community will be on how to wholesale, how to flip properties, how to invest with low money down, and then financial literacy in general, like saving, budgeting, credit card hacks, business, entrepreneurship. And
you're doing a lot with the Latinos in this, right? I mean, you said that to me.
That's the goal. Yes. I'm extremely passionate about my community. I think that we're extremely hard workers, but we might not be the biggest thinkers. We might not be the people that want to conquer the world. And I think we're capable of, just like anybody.
Yeah.
I experience a lot of people in my circle that they've been in the same spot for 20 years, 30 years. Not because of a lack of hard work or effort or commitment or anything like that.
Or knowledge or anything.
Sure. Yeah. And I think we have to do a better job at really trying to pass on the knowledge, pass on the mindset to the next generation and to everyone around us. Because I think it all starts with mindset. Like if you have limiting beliefs, then you'll get nowhere.
Yeah.
Like you'll be stuck. You'll think that millionaires are just a millionaire status is not for you, or having your own business, or being a business owner, or owning real estate, or owning rentals, that is just for the rich, et cetera. Like, so how do you shift your mindset? You start with those books. You start listening and feeding yourself with things that will shift that mindset. I genuinely believe that I brainwashed myself into believing that I could achieve anything because of the YouTube videos that I was watching, because of the Kobe speeches that I was listening when I was shooting around. And
you indoctrinated yourself with the information you were feeding your own brain. And that's so true. It's about mindset.
I always tell this story, Brad. I went to high school in Irvine, Beckman High School. It's a pretty affluent area. All of my friends are 16 years old, 17 years old. They're driving BMWs, Mercedes, G-Wagons, right? And for some reason, there's these 2 blocks in Santa Ana where it's very low income that go to that high school. So this small group of Hispanics that go to this high school live on those 2 blocks. So that's where I was living, and that's where I was sleeping on the floor. And my friends lived on this street. A lot of them lived on this street called Tustin Ranch, which is right across the Tustin Ranch golf course. $2 million, $3 million properties, right? And I would go to my friends' houses, and they were all white. They were all Middle Eastern, Indian, Asian. No one Hispanic family, Brad. Mm-hmm. And ever since that moment, like I was 16, 17 years old, I'm like, why? Why is there not a Jimenez? Why is there not a Hernandez, Gonzalez, Guerrero? Why is there not a Hispanic family in these neighborhoods? Like, why do they all live in Santa Ana? Mm-hmm. So from that moment, like I started reading books, I started listening to motivational speeches and studying all these successful people. I'm like, I can do this. Like, I can do this. I'm going to have a $3 million house in this neighborhood. Like, because why not? So I think that's where it starts. And that's the passion behind this community in helping others to open their mind to believing that they can as well.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Before we get to giving everybody your information so they can find you, I want to circle back to where we started with your basketball academy. So you've grown this thing into an 8-figure operation. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes. UYP Basketball. You can look us up. It stands for Up Your Performance. Like I said earlier, I started with 1 kid, and I grew that to about 100 kids, and then COVID hits, and then I was crushing it with real estate. So I kind of put it in the back burner. Because we were so established in the community, we would get kids every week that were interested. But I only had like 2-3 coaches. I'm crushing in real estate. I'm like, whatever. I was like, I thought of myself, it would be silly for me not to blow this up because of the credibility or online presence. Like, we had over 1 million views on our socials. We had like 100,000 followers on TikTok and like about 20 on Instagram, like back then. So I'm like, it will be silly for me not to grow this. So I already obviously had an income from real estate. I was willing to invest into employees and the right people and the right systems. So I hired a full-time social media manager. I hired a manager. I hired an operations guy. I hired like 3 VAs to handle all of my customer service. I put all these systems in place, and I started investing into the into the business. And in 1 year, we went from like 200K in revenue to about $1 million, 1.1. I had 20 coaches. I had like 3 full-time people. And so that was 2023. And then this year, we're doing 100% growth rate again with more people. And I probably work about 5 hours on it a week. Like, again, just people, systems. Yeah. Don't be willing to invest, reinvest into the company, reinvest into yourself. Don't hesitate to hire people because, I might not have the budget. Like, no, you do have the budget. Like, make the investment because that's only gonna 10x your business even more and bring you more revenue, right? Figure out your numbers. Be a student of your numbers, like to a penny. Like, be a student of your numbers. What comes in, what comes out. What are your expenses? What are your margins? What do you want to make? Like, what do you want to take home? Like, all of that stuff, I think, is super important for business owners to really, really get a hold of in order to grow.
100%. I love what you're doing, Carlos. You're doing a lot of really great things. You're doing it in real estate. You're doing it with your basketball academy.
Thank you.
I think what you're doing for the Latinos is awesome and needed. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how can they reach you?
So I'm most active on Instagram at Carlos Closes. That was a handle from back when I was closing deals, and my girlfriend gave me a hard time, but that's the handle at Carlos Closes. TikTok, same thing. The community is Amigo Make a Million on school and then on YouTube as well. The YouTube is in Spanish only, so pass it out to all your friends and family that you think might benefit. Amigo Make a Million on YouTube. The school community, Amigo Make a Million. It's bilingual, English and Spanish, and I'm putting a bunch of good courses, a bunch of value out there into that community. So that's Instagram, YouTube, community. Yeah, those are the ones.
Awesome.
Yeah, Brad has my phone number. You can DM him.
Yeah, you can always do that. Carlos, really great having you here. Guys, if you feel like we brought you value today and continue to bring you value, please subscribe, like, share, follow, all those cool things. The Brad Rice. Thanks for joining me on The Blueprint, Carlos. Really appreciate it. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much, Brad.